Hi, I'm Tam,
And I'm Bobby.
and welcome to our adventures.
The historic Intercontinental Boston Hotel, located on Boston Harbor, has close proximity to Boston's most sought-after landmarks, including the Boston Tea Party and Ship Museum just steps away, though we picked it because it is a block away from the Amtrak train station. Having lived in a 165 square foot room for the past 16 nights, this hotel room seemed massive. Tam said if we had a cat, there would be plenty of room to swing it. Soon it was time to meet our friends Ruthie and Aaron for lunch. They drove up from Rhode Island to visit with us for the afternoon, which was really sweet. We met them on Odyssey of the Seas back in March of 2022 on an 8-night Southern Caribbean cruise. They drove us to a wonderful little sports bar for lunch. The New England Patriots were playing the Jets on TV, and as we were in Boston, the place was pretty packed. Fortunately, Ruthie and Aaron made a reservation, so we only had to wait a few minutes before being seated. The menu was an eclectic mix of lunch and breakfast, spread across burgers, sandwiches, and pizzas. We had the breakfast pizza, with bacon and 2 eggs on it. First time for me, and while not a traditional pizza, it was very good. Tam got the butternut squash pizza, which they enjoyed as well. After lunch, it was raining really hard, so Ruthie offered to go get the car and bring it around, which was really nice, and we took her up on her gracious offer. Really enjoyed spending time with Ruthie and Aaron, and made tentative plans to look to doing another cruise together, maybe the British Isles around Scotland, probably in 2025 as we're doing the Ultimate World Cruise, which takes us till September 2024. Once we got back to the Intercontinental Boston and said our goodbyes, we stayed in for the rest of the night. We had dinner from the minibar in our room, consisting of a Snickers bar and a small can of Pringles, each. Total cost for this scrumptious meal was about $30. Whoa! The next morning, we headed towards the Amtrak South Station in Boston. It was only about a block away, and we made it there in about 5 minutes. Once we were settled at the station, Tam went out in search of coffee and breakfast. Coffee was easy to find because there's a Dunkin' Donuts every 150 feet or so in Boston. At the train station, the Dunkin' didn't carry food, but Tam found another place that had food, though the service wasn't good and the waitress was pretty rude. But we did get a breakfast sandwich, and that held us over. Once it got close, we went to meet the train. We didn't know what track we were going to be on yet, though Tam kind of had a good guess, and of course, she was right. His first leg was the Amtrak Acela 2159, departing Boston South Station at 9:10 a.m., with stops at Boston Back Bay, Route 128 in Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, New Haven, Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, and then finally arriving in New York, Hanahan Train Hall. Our arrival in New York was scheduled to be 12:50 p.m., and we had a little over 2 hours there before our next train. We were in a business class car for this leg of the journey, which was very nice. The seats were big and comfy, and the ride was very smooth. The Acela is Amtrak's flagship passenger train with service along the Northeast Corridor from Boston down to Washington, D.C. Of course, we were only going as far as New York. The Acela trains are the fastest in America, reaching 150 miles per hour or 240 kilometers per hour, which qualifies them as a high-speed rail, but it's only over about 50 miles of the 457-mile route, so not really. We did get the opportunity to see a little bit of the beginnings of some fall foliage on our journey south from Boston. Not a lot, but in between you can see a little bit of yellows and reds mixed in. Tam was using Google Maps on her phone to track our train's journey and its path as we went. This was very helpful as Amtrak's built-in train tracker wasn't very accurate and didn't give very good updates. Passing trains continued to startle us every time they went by. Here's a fun fact. Providence, Rhode Island was founded in 1636 by renegade preacher Roger Williams, who was forced to flee Salem, Massachusetts because of religious persecution. Williams purchased land from the Narragansett Indians and started a new settlement with a policy of religious and political freedom. His partner was Richard Waterman, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great, there should be 8 of those, grandfather, who arrived from England in 1630. Southern Rhode Island is a lot of bays and waterways and marinas. To approach Connecticut, we must first go through westerly Rhode Island, which is a beautiful place with a lot of bays and marinas, including Watch Hill, which is one of the places Taylor Swift has her home. As we approach southeastern Connecticut, we come close to my old hometown. A lot of this area is my old stomping ground, where I used to hang out before I moved to Florida. This marina is Kitchen Little, a very good breakfast place that we used to go to. Here is the train station in Mystic, Connecticut, and though I never took the train here, it is probably the closest stop to where I grew up. Next, we cross the Mystic River in downtown Mystic and the Mystic River train bridge as we head towards Noank. The Mystic Shipyard can be seen here. It's one of the marinas that my sister and her family own and run. The Amtrak train goes right along the coast in the little quaint town of Noank, Connecticut. Also visible here is the Noank Village Boatyard, which is another one of the marinas my sister and her family run and operate. Why does that always startle us when it happens? Next we go across the Thames River. If we were in England, it would be the Thames, but we're not. We're in Connecticut, so it's the Thames River, which goes from Groton to New London, Connecticut, alongside the Gold Star Memorial Highway. From New London, you can pick up ferries, which go to Block Island, New York, or Islip or Orient Point, Long Island, New York. My grandfather on my mom's side used to work on the Orient Point ferry, though I never got a chance to meet him as he passed away before I was born. This is the Amtrak train station in New London, Connecticut. I have taken Amtrak one time from Florida to New London many years ago when I was in college and I was coming home for Christmas and then needed to bring my parents' car back to Florida. For some reason, that one didn't startle me. How about you guys? That's the northbound Acela. Does that mean New London is the halfway point? Good question. On the other side of the Thames River over in Groton, you can see General Dynamics Electric Boat. That's where the nuclear submarines are built. It's one of 2 places in the U.S. that builds nuclear submarines. We're now crossing over the Connecticut River. On the other side of the Connecticut River, we enter Old Saybrook and Essex, Connecticut. The rest of the journey in Connecticut wasn't that scenic, and we quickly found ourselves approaching New York City. There's not a lot of time at the stops, so you have to get up and get everything ready before the train actually gets to your destination, so you're ready to hop off as soon as the doors open. And here we are, New York City, what used to be called Penn Station, and I think it's still Penn Station, though the Amtrak Hall is called Moynihan Hall. We had a little over 2 hours to kill, so our first thing we had to do was get to the main hall and then go look for food. We did find food at a burger joint, or at least a restaurant called the Burger Joint, in the food hall. The food was good but basic, though we enjoyed it. Our next leg was a couple hours away. We had the Silver Meteor from New York to Miami, though we were going to get off in Winter Park, Florida. We had a roomette. Because we had a roomette, we got to use the Amtrak Lounge in Moynihan Hall, and I'll show you around a little bit. Very spacious, with a lot of room to sit and relax, work, eat, whatever you needed to do. There's this outside area where you can overlook the main train hall, which is all the bustling of people coming and going. Very, very nice. Moynihan Hall, an expansion of New York City's Penn Station, opened on January 1st, 2021. The $1.6 billion project transformed the 100-plus-year-old James Farley Post Office building into a modern world-class transit hub, an idea first proposed by the late United States Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan more than a quarter century ago. Still has that new train hall smell, or maybe somebody spilled something, not really sure. Anyway, place where you can pick up snacks or salads, coffee. They have alcohol, wine available for purchase. All in all, a really nice space, and it makes for a nice relaxing rest between trains. Anyway, that was a little overview of the Amtrak Lounge here at Moynihan Hall. Join us for our next adventure as we experience a roomette on the Silver Meteor from New York to Florida.